Travelers, and welcome to another episode of Tales of Teyvat, a Genshin Lore Podcast. In our last episode, we celebrated Moon Prayer Night as we discussed Acts 5 and 6 of the Nod Cry Archon line. This week, we're going to be talking all about the finale of the Deep Galleries artifact set and taking a deep dive into some ancient Teyvat lore.
Are you looking for a voyage through the stars? Well, send your consciousness right on over to our website, talesofteyvat.com, where Tiff is questioning authority with visuals and explanations for each episode we do.
If you like what you see on our site, you should check out our past episodes as well. Each touch on important topics that we've covered, give links for some of our IRL mentions, include artist spotlights, and a TikTok by myself or Fiends.
Finally, feel free to email us at talesofteyvatpod@gmail.com to let Albedo know what you think of this week's episode and what topics you'd like to see in the future. I did check in with him, just so you guys know, last week, and he told me that he's really doing okay checking our mail and, investigating some stuff. So, secret stuff that he's not allowed to talk about. So.
Albedo. I feel like there should be a rule where every time we say his name, we have to sing it.
I mean, I would love that. Someone could edit it all together and it's like Albedo, like Albedo, like you could make us going Amadi, Abada, but it's all Albedo. Sorry, I've been singing a lot lately, so I have the Has Been Hotel soundtrack stuck in my head. Anyway, outside of emailing us and not sending us anthrax, you can also check us out on Ko-fi, where you can buy us a cup of coffee, or you can check out our merch store, where all proceeds go to our all-night lore sessions and paying for things like our editing softwares and web hosting so we can continue to bring all of Tiff's anarchy to life. Now, before we jump too far into this artifact set, I did want to give one quick spoiler warning. It's kind of two. One is for those of you who haven't done a lot of Skirk related things. Even though Skirk has been out for a while, we know that she's a big deal. And some of you might have been saving her for, that 3-day weekend or whatever. So just letting you know, we are going to be talking a little bit about Skirk today. And we will be talking about things mentioned in the newly released Nod Cry region of Void Sea Outlook and Ashvale Peak and Wave Chaser Plain. Thank you, Hoyo, for letting me pronounce these properly today. I always get scared that I'm just going to get something that is going to be such a bad tongue twister for my poor mouth.
That was all of Natlon.
Yes. Although I feel like by the end of Natlon, I was great. But don't ask me to say them now. But we will be talking about some lore that is mentioned in that area. Nothing too pertaining to the Archon quest itself, but there will be mentions. So we just wanted to give that quick heads up. If you are someone who wants no spoilers whatsoever, you might get spoiled a little bit. So the artifact set that we're going to talk about today is the finale of the Deep Galleries. This artifact set is found in a domain called Derelict Masonry Dock. It is in Natlan over on Atakpin, which is the volcano island.
Speaking of pronouncing Natlan names, we're right into that one.
It's the back end of the island over in the remnants of the Tetananko subregion, because there are two domains on the island, and it's the second one farther back. In this domain, not only can you get the galleries, but you can also get Long Night's Oath, which is another artifact set that released at the same time. And the description for the domain, there's two of them, guys.
Ooh.
A once magnificent design left abandoned to time, this desolate site, hidden deep within the mountain's heart, casts but a flickering shadow of its former grandiose creation. Thorough exploration may reveal treasures that those who long to reach beyond the heavens can only dream of obtaining. Ahem, Skirk. And the second description is an environment incomprehensible to the inhabitants of today's lands, one where ash-gray mechanisms driven by golden ruins replace the toil of flesh, effortlessly bringing brilliance and imagination to life above pools of flame. After this era was ended by tyrannical outsiders, The once powerful race stagnated in their submission. Now the only visitors left to this place are mourners of a bygone era.
Always of a bygone era.
There's always some kind of bygone era.
Yeah, my bygone era was last week.
I know.
So, quick thoughts on that. This is talking a lot about the dragons. We will talk a little bit about Nibelung today and the dragon kind, and kind of the overturning of the rule of Teyvat. Anarchy. Not anarchy. It's the opposite of anarchy, actually. Dictatorship, overruling.
Yeah.
It's the British are coming.
I think it's an interesting time to be going through this artifact set. Obviously it is fairly new because it came out not long, but because of the current Archon story, we're learning so much that this adds so much more to it. There's all these random questions that even when we did our timeline, we were like, wait, when did this happen opposed to this one? And everything kind of started to unfold when we got the dragons over in Nalon.
And I want to give a big shout out right now to B, because originally we were going to cover a different artifact set this season, and he recommended that we switch maybe after the first Archon quests were released, number 1 and 2, and we knew the rumors of Nicole and Alice, and B was like, we need to switch. And me and Tiff were like, okay, whatever you say. We were like, you got it.
Yeah, I don't remember how or when I stumbled upon this, but I was like, oh, we have to talk about this.
So I want to just say thank Brandon because, as I said, off screen or offline, whatever, off mic prior to this is behemoth lore hidden in a freaking artifact set.
As always.
As always. So
most important stuff. The answers to the entire game are in an artifact set that we just haven't read yet.
And it's probably one of the 2-star, 3-star artifact sets.
Yeah.
I mean, Wanderer's Troop gave a lot, so.
I also just want to clarify for anyone who's Googling this, that this is Finale of the Deep Galleries artifact set, but this isn't to be confused with the Finale of the Deep weapon, which is a sword, a craftable sword in the Beaumont series of weapons, which are Fontanian. So just don't be confused if you're like, wait, Finale of the Deep, this is not matching up with what they're talking about. That's something completely different from the Finale of the Deep Galleries artifact set.
Isn't that annoying? Why aren't they connected?
I know, it's weird.
Well, I will say the sword has relations back to Remuria, right? That's the whole thing with the sword. Skirk landed in Fontaine, so maybe there's somewhat of a really far-fetched connection that we just haven't seen. I don't know. I'll try to give Hoyo a little credit.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, could be.
In the animation when Skirk was released, she lands in the water, and Farina's like, "Where did the star land?" And Nouvelette's like, "Calm down, please." But all right, that's the artifact set, and what's really cool too about the artifact set, in my opinion, is that it was very similar to the one we covered last season, where we got lore for the next region. So it was Natlin. Actually gave a huge hint and foreshadowing of what was to come in Nodcry in this artifact set, and no one really batted an eye.
Yeah.
Too busy trying to 100% everything. I didn't notice.
Along the same lines of, to keep in mind that this isn't the weapon, also know that we're going to be going in an order that's slightly different than the way that we normally see artifacts set up, because we tried to put it into a way that made a little bit more sense and was a little easier to understand the story.
Yeah.
For those following along at home.
Yeah, B headlined today and made this more of a streamlined story with all of our crack theories and quips put into it, as opposed to going just in the order of what we would see when you're equipping with your characters. So it's a little different. Pequeño.
Yeah, this artifact set has the benefit of actually kind of telling a somewhat linear story, unlike some of them. So yeah, it made sense to do that for me. Do we want to give a really brief overview of what the story is about?
So the story will be told. There are 2 stories, in the words of Mike Wheeler, when Will goes, "That's what you're worried about?" Well, it's not my main concern, but it's a sub-concern. So our main concern will be the story of Hyperborea after the heavenly principles have taken over, and Nibelung is gone, and a star-crossed lover, basically, aka the Voyager, appears in Teyvat, takes over the body of a young Conrian, aka this is Abaddon from Haunted Hotel, if anyone's seen it. Voyager takes over the body of a young Conrian and falls in love with the first angel. And this then tells you the story of the creation of the Seelies, the fall of Hyperborea, sky nails, and all of the juicy details that led to the Teyvat we know today, basically filling in a lot of the blanks from the Archon quests. The subplot that we're worried about, just not as worried about, is a brief overview of Skirk and how Skirk is actually the person revealing these details and moments in history. And they refer a lot of times with Skirk that she's like finding treasure beneath the snow, but I think the treasures are supposed to be these historic moments and memories. Not real treasure, because like, why would she need gold?
I thought maybe the treasures were the actual artifacts.
Oh, that could be true.
Yeah.
Like she found the flower, she found the mask, the circlet.
Do you think the artifacts whispered to her and they were like, the Voyager, the Voyager?
Maybe, because it seems like she put the feather right in her hair. Because it looks, it's not the actual artifact, but it's very, very similar to the feather that she has.
She was like, I don't want to wear that old piece of garbage. I'll make my new one.
I love it that she's like an archaeologist in this storyline.
Yeah.
/anthropologist.
Yes, she's like doing everything here. She's fighting. She's a veteran. She's a star-crossed as well. She's a trailblazer. And then maybe she'll play the guitar later. I don't know.
Maybe.
Mhm.
The liar.
The liar. Her and Venti just have a jam session at Angel Share.
Yep.
They kick Six-Finger Jose out. It's a great time. I would go. Honestly, I'd go for the fight.
I totally would.
But we have our first item in the artifact set, which is that we're going to talk about, which is your plume, Deep Gallery's Distant Pact.
Yeah. And let's go through this refrain that is at the beginning of every artifact in the set, which is the Skirk part of it all.
Okay. So what happens to Skirk in the plume?
I will be your narrator for this evening on your
Trusting
artifacts.
narrator tip.
Ooh.
I am, you can depend on me. I'm not unreliable.
I don't know. You play as the Traveler and Raiden Shogun.
And Arlecchino.
Take us on a voyage.
Following her master's guidance, the girl ventured northward, traversing the freezing wastelands and the corridor of fractured mirrors at the edge of the frozen sea. After slaying countless monsters that wandered the ruins, finally, among the abyssal remnants, she caught a glimpse of treasure concealed beneath the drifting snow.
Okay, so that is repeated at the beginning of each artifact. And just to make it clear, like who the characters are that it's talking about, when it says following her master's guidance, her master would be Serta Logi. So if you don't know, if you haven't played Skirk's story quest yet, this is something that they go into more detail about during that, when you find out more about her backstory and where she comes from. So it says following her master's guidance, the girl ventured northward. So that's the master is Serta Logi. The girl, of course, is Skirk. The freezing wastelands, Snezhnaya, probably. And then the corridor of fractured mirrors, we don't know anything about yet, but I'm very curious about it. Like, is there a corridor of fractured mirrors in Snezhnaya where people can like world jump?
I also wondered if this was the border, like Teyvat's borders in Snezhnaya. Where we know there is a lot of abyssal energies across that border. So I'm wondering if this is like the very northern points of Snezhnaya where Alice and Nicole are doing their thing.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was picturing too. And I'm really curious to see like this mirror motif that I'm expecting to see in Snezhnaya. I feel like it's going to be a strong theme.
Yeah.
And just for fun, I wanted to point out a couple examples of like other places where we've seen mirrors in the game. One notable one is the looking glass mechanic in Fontaine. There's also the moon mirror puzzles in Nodcry. And going all the way back to Inazuma, we have the Futui mirror maidens, which are those annoying hoes that jump in and out of mirror portals.
Hate them. And it's interesting because the only real glimpse of Snezhnaya that we've had at this point, outside of what Snezhnaya is doing in Nodcry is really the the Zappalarni Palace, whatever it's called. We've seen that in our favorite funeral video.
Yeah.
And there's nothing in that. I mean, it's very basic. It's like almost like a 2D rendering. There's no glass or anything, just ice.
There's a little bit more in Arlecchino's side story that was only put up online too. When she's in Snezhnaya, you get a little peeky out the window too. It's mainly the palace, but it's in a different look a little bit.
And honestly, the coffin was pretty mirrory. Just throwing it out there.
The coffin that you were convinced that the damslet was singing on.
She was. There's proof of that. It's in the video.
She's just talking.
No, she's singing because she's known to be a crazy singing lady. She's just singing a mournful song on the casket of her friend.
Yeah.
She's going near, far, wherever you are.
But not the moon.
R.I.P.
Senora. Yeah, she was singing. I honestly thought the casket was a table at first. So I mean,
I think that's the part of it. You said that the singing was correct, but I think that it was a table and not the coffin.
Listen, I do my best.
I'm trying to remember now. Yeah, I think I may have had that backwards.
But yeah, so Skirk, like Brandon was saying, as there's an introduction of Skirk each time, basically saying the same thing. And there's like a little added each time. At one point, they mention her going through like the broken spiral abyss, like the ruins of it or whatever. She found like a dead Irminsul tree in one of them. So she's just really exploring.
In one of them, it says that like one of the actual treasure is in front of a withered husk of a silver tree. Yeah, it all brings us to the same kind of piece. So, what do we think the withered husk of a silver tree, we assume, is Irminsul?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%.
I mean, definitely a branch of Irminsul.
Yeah, a branch of it. I think it's the one that Dodore burned. That asshat.
Or is it a future one when like all of Teyvat is burned to the ground and the withered husk is just the little bit that's left of the silver tree, and then Skirk's actually telling us the whole story and everything's already like the world's already blown up.
Oh my god, no, I don't like it. I'm vetoing your powers, Tiff. No more anarchy for you.
It's a crack theory that may have no actual depth to it, but it was the one I was like, why is it withered? And it's a husk. And it made me think of the tree that you see in Lord of the Rings. The ending, we see the tree that, you know, while the real ruler of Middle Earth is not there, it's a withered tree. But as soon as Aragorn goes back as the actual king, it flowers and blooms again.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Made me think maybe it had something to do with that. So it could be the beginning or the end that maybe she's seeing it at.
Maybe it's just the part of Irminsul that had Wanderer in it.
Or Nahida was born from, you know.
It's her husk.
This is the Scaramouche part of Irminsul.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially because like what we learned throughout reading this artifact set is that Irminsul is like up north near Snezhnaya where Hyperborea used to be.
Yeah.
Like Irminsul is in the icy cold, and I'm like, is it frozen? Is that why everything's wrong? Like,
yeah. Does it need a hug?
I mean, yeah, maybe a part of it's there, but isn't it like it inside the earth somehow?
I think it's underground up there, yeah.
Like, there's got to be, like, the main root of it. But, yeah, I think it spirals, like, maybe that's not the right, it spans across everything and kind of goes through. But I think, like, the main chunk of it, like, that we see when Scaramouche does this little flippy, I think is up there.
We'll have to do an Irminsul episode at some point. Like everything we know about Irminsul so far.
Because I definitely think like what we learn, especially more in this artifact set, is that the main branch of Irminsul, probably where the Harbingers are doing all their exploration and stuff, is under Hyperborea.
Mm-hmm.
And we know from like, I always refer back to A's second story quest, where we learn that the ley lines are extensions of Irminsul and things like that. So
Yeah.
there's a lot going on.
It's important. That's the simple way to put it. It's an important tree.
Yeah, it's no random tree.
Yeah.
This is like no Arbor Day special.
No.
All right. Do we want to go through the plume of death?
The plume of death. The deep gallery's distant pact. The original description for it is a feathered accessory fashioned from Northland jade that shimmers with an otherworldly glow.
Which, quick comment, I was like, what the hell is Northland jade? It's assumed that Northland jade is referring to Noctilacus jade, which is the blue and black stone that you find in Leeway. It kind of glows before you pick it. It's a level up for Beidou Yabe. But it also made me think of the Northland Bank and how Shaznia is kind of tied to this.
Yeah, that made me, I was like, is Northland just an area within Shneznaya? And that's where the jade and the bank got its name from. Like, you know, when you have like a bank on like Park Avenue and it's Park Bank, you know?
Yeah, that would make sense. Very on the nose with Northland.
Yeah. Guess where this is taking place?
In the
Northland. All right. The artifact goes like this. Yet she was not the first outsider to set foot here. For long before the scions of the far north had woven their sweet dream of submergence, a Voyager whose sentient will traversed the cosmos once made a vow of reunion with the Lord of Dragons who had yet to fall into darkness.
Right. So if we want to pause right here, of course they're talking about Nibelung. So this Voyager's sentient will is like floating through space, and at one point made a vow to reunite with Nibelung. And this was, it says, had yet to fall into darkness. So Nibelung had left Teyvat, but had not come back yet, corrupted by the abyss.
Oh, I thought he was still in Teyvat at this point.
Like he was in Teyvat before he turned evil from...
Maybe he could, he could be. He could still be there.
Because they kind of made it seem like there was like a ripple from Teyvat that like got their attention, got the Voyager's attention. And they were like, Also, can we just talk about consciousness floating through the air?
Where have we heard that before?
OG Durin. Linus. Gold, just gold. I'm like, this bitch is everywhere.
I know the Voyager's lucky they didn't get snatched like gold and stuck into a dragon body.
Yeah. This passerby was a scribe drifting through the vast void, duty-bound, never to commune with primordial civilizations. As her undying body slumbered away with a distant celestial disk construct, her mind had drifted through an empty expanse spanning many light years.
This is very interesting. So we know that this scribe with the sentient will is a she, her, and they have an undying body that is slumbering within a distant celestial disk construct. So at first I was like, is this Kiana from Hungry Third? But she lives on the moon, which is like just a regular moon, I think. So
yeah, but what if the moon was destroyed? You never know.
Yeah, you never know. It could be Kiana. That'd be fun. But, you know, also, could this be talking about the Traveler or what becomes the Traveler's spaceship AI?
To me, yeah, it's 100%. That's why there's a slumber chamber and a key. Boop, boop. I don't know why the sound effects came in there. But when I read it, I was like, holy shit.
I personally think that it's probably not that, because I think the spaceship AI is the Heavenly Principles, which I know is like a really popular theory right now. And for anyone listening that is like, what the fuck is he talking about? The Traveler just recently received a new outfit, and we'll talk about like the moment that it happens, I think, in our next episode when we go and recap more of the non-Cry story. So if anyone doesn't want to be spoiled by the lore of the outfit, which is not really, I mean, you can read it in the game, but it's not talked about in the Archon quest line, so it's not really a quest spoiler. But if you look into the lore that's attached to the new outfit, it describes this AI that was powering the spaceship. And if you read it, it really sounds like it's probably the Heavenly Principles. Like it talks about how it's looking for a world to terraform, that it is probably the arc that we've talked about in previous episodes when for Sun and Moon, they talk about the arc opening. So it seems very likely when you read that lore, that outfit lore, that it's most likely the Heavenly Principles. So because this Voyager ends up sort of being at odds with the Heavenly Principles in the story, it makes me think that it's not the same being, but there could be some kind of interesting timey-wimey explanation or something to where it could be the same entity, but I'm not sure. What are your thoughts?
I have a lot of thoughts that I will save.
All right.
I've written words that I never expected to write in my notes before.
You mean to save until later in the episode?
Yeah, I'll wait till the end.
I thought you were like, I have a lot of thoughts, and you're not going to get to hear them.
No one is privy to my inner workings. Not even my therapist.
Oh, goodness.
Poor Jen. I love you, Jen.
I was going to say, Jen needs to know it all.
Jen does know it all. Don't worry.
Like her therapy sessions are just you reading Albedo fic
No,
to Jen, and she's like, "Here we go."
I'm like, Jen, I need a double session this week. She's like, "Don't tell me we're gonna talk about that stupid blonde twink again." I'm like, "Which one?" Albedo, Aventurine, Leon Kennedy. There's plenty. Pick Cloud. Kave.
Amanda has a type.
Endless opportunities. Lloyd Forger. Anyway, sorry, Jen.
Charting countless peoples and civilizations fated to perish, pondering the ultimate truths of the cosmos in the eternal darkness, until a faint glimmer pierced her awareness, jolting the Voyager from tenfold millennia of meditation. It came from the unremarkable little world at the edge of the spiral arm, and from the primeval dragon that had been born alongside that world. Though death would one day bring an endless night, and the sun it gazed upon was but a fleeting ember.
This is really interesting. So I think that this is sort of saying that Teyvat's son died.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like the reason that Nibelung was like, oh shit, I gotta like do something to save this world. And from the new outfit lore that I was just talking about, this is a quote from that. It says, "The planet they passed was never a destination since its star had already entered its twilight. Its biosphere and atmosphere had been utterly destroyed. The surface held nothing but cooled masses of molten rock. A supernova had caused the devastation." So that right there is just like painting the picture of what Teyvat was like when the twins were like in their hibernation chamber, flying by, powered, by their ship's AI.
Powered by Duracell.
Yeah. And a Philips light bulb. It all comes back to it. It's just a giant commercial for batteries and light bulbs.
What's interesting about this is that, Nibelung set out to make fake light, fake sun, right? Who does it a few thousand years later? But the Enconomians, when they sink down after the war between Nibelung coming back and the Primordial One, I guess during the Funerary Flame War, right? Like, they end up making a false sun. And it's, we know Istaroth kind of whispered in their ears a little bit. Did she know that knowledge from Nibelung? Like, I have so many questions of how they all tie into place and how Nibelung couldn't make a fake sun, but these bitches in the underworld did.
Yeah.
And then sacrifice children.
Nibelung is really impressive to the Voyager. Like, Tiff, if you want to read the next line.
"This will, bound though it was to its planetary crust, shone more brilliantly than all the civilizations the Voyager had ever seen."
Now that's impressive because the Voyager, it just said they were drifting through the heavens for tenfold millennia of meditation. And so Nibelung's will was so, passionate and strong, it snapped the Voyager out of their meditation that they've been doing for 10,000 years.
Yeah.
And also it's interesting that the Voyager can sense the will of Nibelung.
And then it kind of emanated a light. They kind of make it sound like, too, that there was, it was kind of like as they were driving by, there was a giant, SOS.
Well, they're not driving by, right? This is the conscious, like floating
Yeah.
by, like a ghastly.
I still have to
Right.
somehow make it like in my brain, I need to make it like an actual solid mass.
Mhm.
And it's only because I can't get past the whole idea of a consciousness just roaming around. It just makes my brain hurt. It's like being in like philosophy class all over again when I was in college, and like the professor asked, well, how do you know that this is a chair? I'm like, because I'm looking at it. I know it's a chair because I'm looking at it, but how do you know that it's really there? I was like, I can't. I can't. I have a hard, as visual as a person as I am, I have a hard time with things that don't have mass.
Right.
Well, I want you for this episode to embrace your inner Quinn Hughes. He's on the USA men's hockey team for the Olympics. He sees ghosts. That is what everyone says about him, that he sees ghosts. So we're all going to be Hughes today,
Okay.
and we're going to see
Okay.
ghosts.
All right, Chang Yun.
I hope those ghosts are kicking the puck into the net for him.
Yeah. I hope they're not kick.
I hope, yeah,
I hope
I
they're
hope they're
kicking
not
it.
doing that.
Wait, are you getting into hockey because of heated rivalry, Amanda?
Okay, first off, I've always been into hockey. Hockey is
Okay.
my favorite sport.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that about you.
Yes, I've always loved hockey. I used to go to a lot of like Army Navy games growing up. I'm a huge Rangers fan. They're the one team my family likes that actually wins.
I was gonna say I really would have thought you were an Islanders fan based on the fact that you're a Jets and Mets fan.
Yes, my family enjoys losing typically. I have lots of heartache in the other regions of sports. But I like hockey. I like when they fight. I don't know. I really enjoy it. I've been to a lot of games. I actually went to a Devils game once, and I got to sit in like a box seat. My friend had won
Ooh.
the tickets. It was so fun. But I also really like heated rivalry.
Mhm.
But I'm more of a Shane girly, which goes outside of the blonde twink stereotype.
Oh.
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
Well, he's the bottom, right?
Yes.
That's why.
But so just imagine the ghost. We're all a Hughes now.
Yes. Okay.
And the ghosty ghost is floating through the sky, sees a ripple and a light, and is like, whoo, treasure. I'm gonna check that out.
Who's this intense dragon over here?
Yeah, I just worry that if we say things like drive by, it might start to seem like they came over with like a spaceship or their disc.
Okay.
Right.
And that's why I'm trying to differentiate it. That's all. And also, who doesn't like to talk about Ryan Hughes and him seeing ghosts? He's a haunted man, just like Nibelung.
Unable to suppress the wonder and sorrow welling up from within, she delivered a solemn pronouncement onto its ruler. I have seen the lightless end, tearing through star clusters like a spindle among silken threads. I have seen how the cold tide of chaos drowns out all songs, so that good and evil alike vanish into silence.
So what does this sound like?
My life.
The Sea of Quanta.
I've learned that I am the Sea of Quanta.
My life. What does this sound like? My life.
Things are good.
Things are great.
Yeah. Okay, I promise I'm fine.
And what does this sound like? America.
Yeah. You need a Voyager, please.
Yeah, we do.
I don't know. Don't be careful what you wish for, because I hear Voyager and I also think of voyeurism. We got to be careful of what we want here, guys.
So this does sound a lot like Sea of Quanta mythology from Honkai Impact Third, which is the enemy of the imaginary tree. And so just a reminder about that. In this mythology, the imaginary tree is like Hoyo's creative force that creates worlds via its, quote unquote, leaves, and is constantly trying to outgrow the Sea of Quanta, aka the Abyss. And the Sea of Quanta is like the destructive, chaotic force that is constantly trying to swallow the imaginary tree. So this Voyager is, sort of talking about that. Like, I've seen the lightless end, the Abyss or the Sea of Quanta tearing through star clusters. And I've seen how the cold tide of chaos drowns out all songs. So it matches up very closely with that kind of imagery that they talked about in Honkai Impact. So, if you want to kind of liken it to Star Rail, it's probably a little bit different. I would kind of guess maybe it's sort of like the destruction spreading through the universe, but that's up for debate. And I don't know my Star Rail lore nearly as well as the other two games, so I can't speak too much to that. But yeah, it does sound like the Abyss is like ravaging the universe, and this Voyager has witnessed it via their travels.
It makes me think of from Star Rail the purple lady in who fucks around with Venturine.
Does she find out?
Jade?
Not Jade. I guess the other one. It's the one who we talk about when we talk about Arlecchino.
The purple one we talk about when we talk about Arlecchino.
Their bursts are similar.
Oh, the one that you said I would like.
Acheron.
Oh, Acheron, yeah, aka Raiden May.
Yeah, it makes me think of her because she like kind of came from like a desolate place and traveled around, right? Like,
Oh yeah, that's a good comparison for sure. She also kind of reminds me of Skirk.
yes.
So it's also like another kind of parallel, I think, because Skirk is also this like lonely traveler,
Same Skirk.
And yet, my kind, gentle king, will you still refuse to abandon your people? Forsake this world, fated for ruin, and journey with me beyond the stars.
So Voyager's like, you're really impressive. I'm like, you're a star, baby. You're a star.
Okay, Lorne. Jesus.
And she's like trying to sort of seduce Nibelung to abandon Teyvat because she knows there is a supernova, their star's dying, and it's not going to survive much longer. But since Nibelung is like, was created at the same time as that world and has like the ability to travel the cosmos, apparently, she's like, why don't you come with me?
Yet thus did the proud dragon reply, O friend from a distant world, I thank you for imparting these truths from beyond the skies. But though in your eyes they may seem ignorant creatures, to me they are the very meaning of this universe. If the tide of oblivion must come, then let my bones be the bulwark that shields this realm. Bear witness to the path I have chosen, for I shall lead my people onward to the stars.
So it sounds like Nibelung wanted to protect the inhabitants of Teyvat, but also to send them to other worlds.
He was like, let's go exploring.
Yeah.
Let's get out of here and be safe.
Yeah. But when the Voyager returned once more, the world she remembered had been utterly changed. The bones of the earth had been bound beneath fourfold shackles, and the soft white radiance of the sky had been split into 7 immutable hues.
So so it sounds like what happened was the Voyager, they come floating by, they meet Nibelung. You're like, girl, your world is dying, like, come with me. Nibelung is like, no, I love my people and I have to find a way to save them. So then Voyager's like, okay, bye. And then I guess come back around X number of years later. And now they're seeing how different the world is because it's been taken over by the heavenly principles. So the fourfold shackles, that would be the 4 shades, I'm assuming. And the 7 immutable, it says the soft white radiance of the sky had been split into 7 immutable hues. That would be the light realm being broken into the 7 elements.
For some reason, this had a da-da in my head when I read it. I was like, whoa! And then I was like, wow, they really like 4 and 7. Like, that has to be that, or else they just those 2 numbers.
The light realm came up and I was like, I need Brandon.
Yeah.
You're like mental
Where's
block.
the taco dip?
They're bringing up realms. I don't have my dip. Oh, man.
Like drifting smoke had the Lord of Dragons vanished, and the Winged One's throne now ruled the radiance of the 3 moons.
So the Winged One being the heavenly principles, which is interesting. I mean, I guess we knew the heavenly principles had wings because of the cutscene at the beginning of the game. But I guess I didn't know if those wings just come out like once in a while, or if that's like a natural state for the heavenly principles. But apparently they were there back then too.
Yeah. Because even in the cutscene, though, they're not out entirely. Like, they come out as she starts getting all pissy, right? Like we see them unfurl.
Yeah, I think so. If I'm trying to remember. Maybe I need to go back and rewatch it because I know the twins have wings.
I don't think it's really a wing as much as it is like just something floating behind her.
Okay.
It seems
Okay.
more like a construct, like the star shape than wings.
Gotcha.
But the
Right.
stars, I think, could easily be confused. I think if you're looking at the four shades, because we're also assuming here that the unknown god in the opening cutscene is the heavenly principles.
Mhm.
But we also know that she might be the shade of space.
Yes.
Asmodee, that is MIA, because they have very similar art styles when we get to learn about the shades.
Yes. Yeah.
That's true.
I will say, though, all this talk about wings is bringing me back to Fanes and the egg.
Oh, yeah.
We
The
love an
egg.
egg.
Oh, the egg theory.
Oh, yeah. Egg theory goes back to episode 100 and episode 60, baby.
Yeah.
Don't get us scrambled.
Oh.
This is not a sunny side up story.
Dino returns.
I don't know about you, but my brain is fried.
Bewildered by the dragon's unannounced departure, yet unwilling to disturb the world's new ruler, the Voyager, defying the laws of her kin, quietly cast her mind into the world inside the shell
Right.
of the egg.
Of the false sky.
The false sky, yes. The firmament. Also, I think it's interesting that the Voyager is rebelling against her commandments, much like what is going to happen with the first angel.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Voyager is an anarchist, true and true. Like, they are the Emma Goldman of Teyvat.
Yeah, I'm assuming that like she came back to Teyvat because the will of Nibelung was so powerful it like snapped her out of this like forced meditation she was doing for 10,000 years. She's like, oh, like I want to go hang out over here and see, check on this dragon and how they're doing because they snapped me out of it.
And it sounds like the Voyager, all of her other people, basically are just floating around too, then checking shit out, right? Because if they have a law, they must be doing it too.
Maybe the Voyager, like maybe their sleep was induced as like a prison sentence because they did something rebellious already. Like they broke their people's laws or something.
Mm.
Can you give me a reminder of who made the false sky? Is that
Me.
the Heavenly Prince? Other than Amanda. Was it the Heavenly Principles or was it Nibelung?
The heavenly principles.
Okay.
They made the false sky to yeet the moons behind.
Oh, okay. Because the moons were Nibelung friendly.
Yes.
Like if you had to put them on sides.
Yeah, Nibelung created the moons and the moon goddesses. And then when the heavenly principles took over, two of them got shattered. And the one that was still around was like stuck behind the false sky and like a projection of it.
That just really made a lot of sense to me for something that we'll talk about next episode as well, that I think didn't snap in.
I also want to just point out very quickly that in the Skirk animation that came out called A Star Odyssey, we learn in that from Sertology talking to Skirk that a descender is someone who is not from the world coming down, but that because Skirk could not open a portal for herself through the false sky into Teyvat, that she is not strong enough to be considered a descender.
Mm.
So this makes me question if the Voyager is therefore a descender because their mind ghost was able to make their way through.
The mind ghost.
Right.
But do you have to have an actual physical being to become a descender? I don't know. And who is the second descender? Do we know? Like, does this make them possibly the second descender or the third descender? Like, I'm confused.
Right. I don't think they've been officially established second or third, right? Like we have our guesses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We know that Traveler's the fourth, and we know our sibling is not considered one. And I'm pretty sure we know that the Heavenly Principles or the Primordial One is the first.
And that the third is the goop.
Yeah, whoever
Yes,
is turned into the goop juice.
Yes, the chopped up pieces inside of the Gnosis,
The minced meat.
which we theorize is actually probably Nibelung, but I think Nibelung is the third descender. Like when he came back, corrupted by the abyss.
And I think that's a pretty like standard theory.
Yeah. And that's when the War of Funerary Flame started.
So I wonder if the Voyager could be number 2.
Yeah, maybe.
Vesting her consciousness in the body of a youth, she walked among the chordate animals, listening to their fervent and ever-escalating debates in the city of gold.
Yes. So she takes over a body of this quote-unquote youth, whose name we will find out is Voinen.
Wild name.
And the city of gold they're talking about is, of course, Hyperborea. And I love that, this could almost be like a trans storyline if you interpret it that way, because you have this she-her character inhabiting the body of a male youth, and then it turns into like a love story. So it's interesting how they play with gender in the storyline with, this she-her character possessing the body of a male youth named Voinen. So, it's like a fun trans storyline in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And so a very quick recap just of what this artifact tells us. Outside of Skirk, there's a Voyager who is a ghost spirit. And they see this bright light at the end of the cosmos, and they decide to go investigate it in their consciousness, not in body, because their body is like in a Polly Pocket container, meditating. They go and talk to Nibelung, who is like their idol now, and they try to convince Nibelung to leave with them because it's clear that Teyvat is in turmoil. Nibelung says, "No, I need to be here for my people. Come back, you'll see." They say, "Okay," and they leave. And when they come back, Nibelung is gone, which is very surprising to the Voyager. And a winged one, aka the Heavenly Principles, is now ruling over the world and the moons. The light realm has been shattered. There are now 4 people controlling the land, and there are assumed to be 7 elements based on the way everything's been broken up. The Voyager wants to learn more because they're very surprised that Nibelung would leave their people, so they take over a child or a young, I don't know, is it a child or a young person?
That sounds good to me.
It says youth, so
like, it's kind of creepy.
It is a little creepy.
Youth is creepy?
Yes. Later on, when the story becomes a romance.
Oh, youth to me means more older than a child. Like a youth is like a teenager to me.
I call anyone who's younger than me, I go, the youths. Like I'm Schmidt in New Girl. So like I don't know.
I don't know. I figure in my mind at least, it's baby, toddler, child, youths, a human being. Because not until you're over 18 are you actually a formed human being, in my mind.
I looked it up very quickly, and it said most commonly the ages for youths is 15 to 24. But it also, there are some contexts where the range is larger, and it's 10 to 26.
I was going to say, yeah, when I hear the word youth in like literature or whatever, I think of it as like late teens, early 20s. So that makes sense to me.
Oh my God, I hear youth and I think like 10 to 12. So I'm glad we settled this, because I was like very disturbed by some further parts of the story. I'm glad this is established for me and the travelers.
Amanda's like, did you know that the first angel was a pedophile? You guys?
Yeah. Literally, I was like, oh my God. And I was like, and that's why she's gold.
Was she in the files too?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
The Epstein files, yes.
I heard that the first angel was on the island.
Yeah.
With Puxany Phil.
Puxatawny Phil?
Yeah, Puxatawny Phil. But people were spreading rumors that he was in the files.
I mean, he does live in Gobbler's Knob, so.
Oh my God.
I love that I didn't make that name up.
I will say one of my favorite trends online right now is when people are like, oh, what if your favorite celebrity is in the Epstein files? And they'll be like, Kaya from Genshin Impact is not in the Epstein files. Like, it's so good. People be like, Elmo is not in the Epstein files. But yeah, so our first angel is safe as far as I'm concerned from the files now.
Yes.
So thank you guys for clarifying that and settling this not in court.
We're going to move on to our next one, which is the Circlet, Deep Gallery's Lost Crown. The description for this one is a helmet steeped in obsession, just like the mind of its previous owner. Its jade ornamentation seems to come from an age more ancient still.
I hate it when my clothes are steeped in obsession.
Most people in the 90s were steeped in obsession. The
Yeah.
fragrance.
Yes.
Patchouli and obsession. It was an age when the unknowing masses still bowed to the sky's decrees, when the dawn star's royal court still hung high above the clouds.
So we know that Dawnstar is the first angel, whose name we find out is Koitar. And what's fun about them saying the Dawnstar's royal court, the royal court of the Seelie is a point of interest in Emsvartnir, which is like a new area in Nodcry that you can explore. And, you know, they have some like little things that you can unlock, fills in some of the lore around it.
And that's also where Varka was when we first got to Nodcry, right?
Yes, in Emsvartnir, yeah.
That's what he says.
I mean, I think we end up finding out that it was a ploy to distract him.
Distraction, yeah.
But there seems to be like, it just, I don't know why, it really just made a little light bulb go off for me.
Well, I think you find out that Koitar was close with Boreas. So that's why I think Varka is sort of associated with that area.
Mm-hmm. We'll get to that.
Mm-hmm.
Magnificent, noble creations descended from the light itself, and the mortals, unable to look upon their true visages, called them angels.
So this is so interesting to me because it's saying that the angels descended from the light itself. So if the angels were created by the heavenly principles, what is this saying? Like, are they created from the light realm, the primordial light realm that was a part of Teyvat? Or does this mean that they were created by like an AI possibly? Like, is it artificial light being shaped into something, or is it the actual light that, you know, ends up being refracted into the seven elements?
Interesting. I kind of assumed that the heavenly principles brought light somehow, and that maybe they were referring to the heavenly principles as light, and that they were created by like the heavenly principles.
Yeah, that's how I was kind of taking it too. But then I was like, or wait, are they just talking about the light realm? You know what I mean?
Right. That's been shattered, like you said.
Yeah. Like, did the heavenly principles, once they took over the light realm, did they use the light to create other angels?
Yeah, like the leftover things that didn't become the elements themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially since we know they all end up wearing elemental crowns.
I want an elemental crown.
I don't. It sounds like they're gonna lock me into their ways.
I mean, it's true, but it still sounds cool.
I won't conform.
What if I end up covered in eyeballs?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Renova.
Their pale silver wings shimmered like moonlit flames. Their heads were adorned with the crowns of sevenfold radiance, wrought of the bones of the earth, and the skies and the stars of the sky. The name upon these crowns was the loved promised unto all creatures by the heavenly God, or perhaps a mandate to rule over the nations of the earth. Or perhaps.
Or perhaps, I know. Yeah.
Like, you're supposed to be telling us why you added in that. I feel like it's a weird way to explain that. Or perhaps, maybe.
The name upon those crowns was the love promised unto all creatures by the heavenly God, or perhaps a mandate to rule over the nations of the earth. So I think maybe this is just their way of explaining that, like, the angels were designed to love all creatures, but they were also mandated to rule the nations, whether they wanted to do that part or not. Also, what are the bones of the earth? Are they talking about the ley lines, maybe?
It's like necromancy is getting involved. I don't like it.
I thought it was Irminsul.
That's what I'm thinking. Like the ley lines or Irminsul.
Yeah, I mean, the two and the same, right? Like, are the ley
true.
lines.
Yeah.
The ley lines are like the root system, yeah.
Yeah, maybe this is the idea of like the creation of the ley lines. You know, from the bones of the earth, they're creating the ley lines.
With all your heart, soul, and might, you shall love the beings of this earth. You shall love as morning dew longs for the dawn, as seeds long for the trade winds.
Like, what if some of the beings are awful?
Yeah.
They still gotta love those. Like, what if it's Dottore? They like an angel still has to love Dottore.
I guess, like, Venti had to love Fake Stanley because,
Oh, right.
and Fake Stanley, before he, like, really gave it in, like, was kind of awful. He was being his friend, an imposter. So if you're a god, you have to love them all.
Right. Or, well, at least an angel.
Yeah. Or an angel. Yeah. They were the most loyal servants in the heavenly court, flawless arbiters of justice. They wore a veil for the great ruler of the firmament, delivering sacred revelations to all realms. Such was the duty invested upon them at the moment of their creation, or so it should have been.
So angels were born into slavery.
Yeah, basically.
They were like indentured servants, like minimally.
Yeah, indentured servants, I think, is exactly like they were to do the bidding. So now the Heavenly Principles has shades and angels working for them?
What a bitch.
Take all the workforce, why don't you?
Yeah, leave some for the rest of us. I heard the Dawn Winery needs workers. But I think the crowns are interesting here, minimally. The idea that they all have an elemental crown. I'm like, ooh.
What's interesting to me is that if the Heavenly Principles really is the spaceship AI, like the Traveler's spaceship AI, if that theory is correct, does this mean that like the angels, since they end up rebelling, does that mean that it's like the angels are AIs that achieved like a superior sentience to their creator AI?
I don't even want to think about it. Is this the fucking Terminator? Like, shit. Skynet? Like,
Skynet. What a perfect name for the veil for the great ruler of the firmament.
Yeah.
Skynet.
honestly, I hate the AI theory. And I truly do feel like this artifact set does debunk it a little bit, unless someone went up to the spaceship and glue feathers everywhere.
You think so?
Yeah, there's a lot of talk of feathers in here, and like the more I looked into it too, like Nouvelette says that like there's a mess of feathers in Celestia or something. Like he even makes a comment on it. So it's like, is it an AI bird? Like I feel like, I don't know.
I mean, I'm still not over the AI dragons in Nutlan, so
Yeah, but at least a How looks like a robot, right? Like he doesn't look like a bird, a chicken.
It is really interesting to think about that. I always forget like how technologically advanced the dragons were. And it's like, yeah, like all of the fire dragons lieutenants were AIs. So like the dragons were messing around with AIs even, you know, possibly before this outsider AI showed up, if that's what indeed happened.
do you think it was ChatGPT, the whole thing?
I hope not. It's not that's our future.
It's Skynet.
Skynet! They Skynailed! Honestly, I would hate it. I would stop playing if that was Skynet. I'd be like, really, guys? Can't even claim royalties.
Until the first angel met an unnamed youth beneath the silver tree in the far north, and in those star-like pupils saw a reflection of herself she had never yet known. It was a love not inscribed by law, a freedom the skies would never permit. As her heart fluttered for reasons she could not know, the eternal star crown forged in love's name suddenly fractured. Oh, star pupils, you say?
Hello, Conrian youth. I'm so sad that it's a Conrian youth from like 6,000 years ago, because it's no one we know.
Yeah. Yeah, this one's probably dead.
You don't know.
It's true.
Also, like, I'm assuming the Voyager could just hop into someone else's body at any time if they really wanted to.
I was also thinking that. Like, I was surprised they didn't body hop, because they could have become like a priest. They could have been anyone, but they chose to be a youth.
Like, maybe Voyager just looked really good.
Yeah.
The Voyager was like, I'm going to be the hottest motherfucker in this world.
I hope that was the exact thought.
But then the Voyager actually like had a false understanding of beauty in Hyperborea and was actually the ugliest motherfucker of all the land.
Or his love had a mirror face and he was just looking at himself.
in the corridor of mirrors.
Yeah. And casting it into the snow beneath the silver tree, the Dawn Maiden made her fateful vow. Come now, come. Let us recast these absurd laws with bone and nourish the barren north with blood.
Ew.
Insert bathe with the blood from Alan.
Bathe with blood.
Let us build a city and a tower that soars up into the clouds, that the people of the earth need weep bitter tears no longer. I cast this useless crown into the dust, that all earthly nations may breathe free of their shackles.
Did someone say space elevator?
Oh my God. I sat up so quickly. And I need everybody to know that I'm still looking for a documentary. And then I even asked my boss if he knew a documentary about space elevators, and he told me he'd get back to me, but I've heard nothing. So somebody, please help a girl out.
I feel like you were onto something though very close with our friend Mike. I think you were like in my mother's living room or your dining room, like figuring out the space elevators.
Yes, when we were put together, it's like ADHD frickin' frack put together, and we deep dive on stuff that you shouldn't be deep diving on in the middle of Tiffany's mother's house. But here we are. Space elevators rubs hands together.
Yeah.
And for anyone who needs a reminder, we talked about the space elevator in, I believe it was our Ochganatlan episode, because one of the 13 sovereign lords, which are AI dragons, number 9, which was Ishlil, they were trying to build a space elevator in Ochganatlan. So,
and just so people understand what a space elevator is, it is a transportation device that would literally take you in an elevator from Earth all the way up. And it's very sciencey. It's very physicsy. I like almost failed AP physics. Like it gives me a bit of a migraine, but it's so cool because they use what is it called? Centrifugal force with like a cable. So they're using like gravity to help push it up, but also the elevator's only a cable. It's a lot. But the idea is like, how can we get like food to the moon? We'll use the space elevator.
Mm-hmm.
I guess this was before they realized they could fly.
Yeah. This was before Xingxia was writing about spaceships that they didn't know they could just take up there.
So I just want to provide a quick recap of that. So we're going to skip over Skirk. So our Voyager is realizing that in this world, the heavenly principles are still honored and respected. They're the high and mighty in the sky. There are beautiful angels who walk around, but they're not necessarily beautiful because we can't look at them. So we're seeing like a chosen form. That's something Nicole even mentions in the Archon quest. The angels were most likely created by the heavenly principles to be the best indentured servants anyone could ever create. They ruled in place of the moons, and they worked directly with the people. And they wore elemental crowns that kind of acted like leashes, so to speak, from the heavenly principles. The first angel ever, Koitar, not to be confused with Kutar, met the Voyager in their Conrian youth form when they went down under Hyperborea to go talk to them at the Irminsul tree. The angels saw themselves in a new light when they heard of all the Voyagers' intercosmo travel. And they fell in love, because you all fall in love in 5 seconds after seeing the history of the cosmos. Her crown broke, she threw it to the ground, and she decided to run away with the Voyager because it was not right for them to be in love.
All in my mind, all I heard was "Happy birthday to the ground."
Oh my God, yes, literally. Hyperborea to the ground. That's not my dad. That's just a cell phone.
Lonely Island.
So good, so good. One of my favorite songs ever.
Yeah.
What is it? I'm walking through the market with my so-called girlfriend. I'm like, why is he a so-called girlfriend, Andy? Like, what's happening here? Why do you trust nothing?
Okay. We are on to our next, the Goblet. The Deep Gallery's bestowed banquet, which has the description of a cup fashioned from Northland jade, They say that the people of an ancient civilization once used it as a ceremonial vessel to make offerings to the heavens.
Because it's from where? The Northland.
Yay!
Which, if you did not know, is north. That was the time when the silver moonlight still showed mercy upon the lands of the far north, and the envoys of the heavens still gazed down upon the dust and mud. Having angered the divine envoys by questioning the process of knowledge, the people of the Golden City now argued endlessly amongst themselves as for how to quell their wrath. The priests accused each other of sacrilege, of defiling the love, prosperity, and wisdom of the gods.
Right. Humans fighting humans because the angels are mad at the humans, right?
Mm-hmm. Everybody's fighting. Not kung fu fighting, but they were fighting.
Yeah. Humanity's like reaching this point where they start questioning, the divine authority of the angels. Like, since the angels are the divine envoys and they're bringing in the messages from the heavenly principles, the people are like starting to question things. And the angels are like, what are you doing? You're going to get me fired.
I need this job. I need the benefits. I have 12,000 children.
I cannot lose my insurance.
Oh my God. Imagine if Lillipar had to worry about insurance. She had a lot of kids to cover. That deductible would have been terrible. Amongst themselves, they sought to identify the chief culprit, for it was their intention that the one responsible for corrupting the people's minds would likewise be the one to appease the divine envoys.
Which to me sounds like there is basically a witch hunt.
Yeah.
They're like, we need someone to blame so that the angels are not mad at us anymore.
And we can sacrifice one of us for the greater good of all of us, which seems to be a theme that pops up in Genshin, like one for all.
Are they going to do it to the children again?
Well, I don't know. It depends on your definition of a youth.
Yet all of a sudden, a voice was heard. If sin comes from the pursuit of knowledge, then ignorance is the true doctrine. If from rebellion, then only the Lamb is truly righteous. If sin must be atoned for with blood, why is it said to stem from humanity? If the laws are perfect and flawless, why fear the act of inquiry? It was merely a boy of humble birth who, having somehow slipped past the watchful guards, had stepped into the chamber where the priests had convened.
So this, of course, is Voinen after being possessed by the Voyager.
And this is when I was thinking this was like an 11-year-old boy. Like, and I mean, I don't know, they still use the word boy. It's kind of strange, like.
That's true, yeah.
Boy insinuates young, but I guess boy could be an older teen. But I was imagining literally like a 10-year-old walking in. I mean, like, all philosophical and like Hamilton-esque. And then they listen, but was this, in your guys' opinion, kind of the creation of the concept of forbidden knowledge?
Yeah, I think he's sort of saying, why is knowledge forbidden if all of these laws are perfect and flawless? Like, why should we be afraid to ask questions?
Especially if it's like innocent questions. Like, it's like, if we're thinking of rebelling, I get it, but like these seem innocent enough. This seems curiosity.
Yeah, I think this is sort of like when the people have realized that there is certain knowledge that is forbidden, which is what pissed off the angels in the first place, because they were asking too many questions.
Yeah, because angels were gatekeep girl bossing.
Yes.
And now a little gaslighty. Yeah. Honestly, they are the gaslight gatekeep girl bosses of Teyvat.
So Voinen is like, I'm going to keep asking these questions. And everyone was like, perfect, because we've been looking for someone to blame.
All of their scholarly accusations he refuted in turn. Their charges of heresy reduced to naught but angry, speechless glares. In that silent chamber, the chief priest, who wore a white-branched crown, finally dismissed the guards who had rushed in. O heretical speaker, if, as your eloquent words would suggest, you truly hold that grievous sin is but the delusion of mere mortals, then let you be the one to drink from this cup of burning wrath. Go to the ashen silver tree and plead your case before the very envoys who have cast judgment upon us.
They literally were like, you want to drink the Kool-Aid? You can drink the Kool-Aid. On behalf of us all.
Like, go down there and get burned, witch.
Literally. It did not go as planned for them.
And so the previously unknown youth ventured forth into the deepest recesses of the earth, seeking answers from the first angel. Dun dun dun. That is the end of that one.
That's all I imagine is like a Hamilton reference at all times now.
See, it's funny because like in that mind, I had Hades Town. Like I was thinking of, going down when he goes down to the Hades
Persephone.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So a quick synopsis, because that was, it's a lot. There's a lot of big words in that one because of his little monologue. Still got angels and light. The Hyperboreans have angered the angels because they're like, hey, we have questions about things. And the angels are like, be silent, mortals. Ugh. And the people are like, shit, we angered them. They're the only people here to protect us because the moons are gone. What are we going to do? We're going to sacrifice one of our own who's stupid enough to be sacrificed. And who walks in but this like all-knowing Cosmo Voyager ghost guy in a youth's body who just starts like spitting out poetry about knowledge and freedom. And the priests, they don't listen to anything he says. They're like, perfect, go to Irminsul.
Yeah, go down to the first angel and deal with that.
Yeah, go spit your facts.
And if you see Euripides on the way, can you just take her back too? Orpheus is looking for her.
No, I know we did like one of like the previous artifact like already sort of explains that Voyager and meets the first angel and they fall in love and everything. So this was kind of like a step back to explain how Sweetervoinen was like given permission to go down and actually meet her. And then this next artifact will actually tell a little bit more about them meeting each other and falling in love.
Can we also just stop for a second and say how kind of funny this is that like the Voyager shows up and it's just having everything they want handed to them? Like they're like, I want to figure this out. And they're just like, oh yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that. We'll do that. It's like, why do these greater beings that we like find out about always have to take the easy track? Like they didn't have to kill anyone. They didn't have to like sneak in anywhere.
They're very clever. They've been thinking for 10,000 years and like witnessing all kinds of stuff.
So our next one is the flower. And that is Deep Gallery's Echoing Song. The description is an icy flower fashioned from the Northland jade. Over the course of its long life, its petals have crumbled to dust.
Because that jade is from where?
The North. The land of the North. That was when the silver moonlight had yet been shattered in the fires of war, when the divine prophecies of the heavens still extended over the land.
Yeah, so Fires of War, I think, is probably the War of Funerary Flame. So just establishing that Nibelung had not come back yet.
The youth who had ventured deep into the earth's bowels met the first angel, inquiring about the most forbidden origins of the world. Why'd it have to be the bowels?
Well, this game loves buttholes.
It does.
In facts.
Some might think that we love buttholes, but really it's the game.
Yeah. We have no choice. We're just covering
They have
facts.
one in the sky.
Lucy confirmed it.
They're everywhere.
The Dawn Daughter trembled at the dawn. Did you say Lucy confirmed it?
Yeah.
The Dawn Daughter trembled at these profane words, not knowing what this mortal had uncovered such a closely kept secret.
Dawn Daughter, of course, being Koitar, the first angel.
And I just want to stop for a moment just to say that like they might discover all these truths, but I don't. They find out all the truths of the world, apparently. I don't fucking learn any of it from them. None. Again. Like, guys.
It's also funny that Koitar is so taken aback by this mortal like saying these things to her because she doesn't know that Sweetervoinen is not really immortal.
Yeah. She'd be a little bit disappointed, I think. This story
Maybe,
might have
yeah.
gone a little bit different if she wasn't in amazement that this dude knew.
Yeah, like if she knew this was like an intergalactic Voyager who can project their will through the cosmos, she might not have been quite as impressed. But like, well, of course you can do all that and say all that.
But her visitor laid bare his origins before her, singing to her dreams of beauty that had never yet graced her mind.
Yeah, so now he's like, BT dubs, I'm a cosmic traveler.
Yeah.
So her impressiveness does go down, but she's still like mind blown.
Yeah, but now she's
Yes.
like, wait, beauty? What's that?
Yeah, what is, and also is now dreams of beauty, is that just talking about space travel? Like, do you think Koitar's seduced by the idea of space travel? of like there's all these different worlds? Or do you think it's just like, what if angels didn't have to live in a state of indentured servitude?
I took it as like the universe. Like she was just like, wait, I'm stuck under this dead tree with a
Mhm.
crown on my head. There's all these beautiful things out there, whether or not it was Teyvat at the time or just the universe or what the Voyager had seen in the past in other places, you know, depending on how far they went with it.
Voyager's like, I can show you the world.
In an instant, the fetters laid upon her by the enthroned ruler broke apart like a spider's web. For the first time, she discovered what it meant to serve herself. And to the one she loved, she poured out the matter of creation, that most forbidden of unspeakable secrets.
Right. So, enthroned ruler, of course, being the heavenly principles. Matter of creation, what do you think that is? She poured out the matter of creation, the most forbidden of unspeakable secrets. Is that like the literal tools to create life? Or is it just like forbidden knowledge?
Well, I was gonna say, do you think it's actual physical, or I kind of saw it as like what are they, the forbidden knowledge capsules in like Sumeru? Like she was like, here
Right.
it is, take it all, you scribe.
That's what I'm wondering. Like, she poured out the matter of creation. Is it like the idea of how they were created, or is it an actual physical matter of like, oh, here is the substance that we use to create things?
Yeah, like is that the last ingredient that Albedo needed to make Durin?
Right. Yeah.
Because he needed something from Alice, right?
Stop, you're feeding a theory. Oh no. Oh my God. Okay, continue. I'm sorry. I'll talk about it later.
Are you okay?
No.
I just imagining Amanda squirming in her chair.
Yeah. Alas, that your ruler would dare to blaspheme such noble beings. Even the demonic sculptors of bloody nightmares who delight in tormenting souls would be taken aback by such cruelty. O Dawn Maiden, who has never known love, let me stand as the enemy to your laws. Raise your eyes to the stars as you should, for the sake of all beings imprisoned by your ruler. Let me be your sword, your shield, your guide, your unpardonable conspirator in rebellion. That's a lot.
I mean, don't you kind of love how naughty Voyager is? I feel like this would totally work on me. Like, let's rebel. Let's be rebellious. Let's be bad. And be like, okay, where are we going?
It's also like when I feel like when you're an angel, you've been locked up by the highest power. So you assume the highest power knows all. And now here's this person that seems like a higher entity. And it's like, yeah, fuck that guy. They imprisoned you. They did wrong. Let's make this world a better place.
Also, I wanted to point out that, like, this storyline of like someone's disillusionment happening via love is like very queer.
Mm.
Of like, oh, like I fell in love with this person, and that's what made me realize like all the things I was taught was bullshit. It's sort of like, you know, a gay person growing up in the church or something.
Yeah, a sheltered childhood,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
which the angels were very sheltered.
Then did she, most exalted of the angels, bend down and kiss his forehead, as countless icy blooms unfurled on the frigid silver tree. Yet this moment of betrayal did not go unwitnessed. For at that very moment, the heavenly moons peered down through the cloak of clouds, a longing still more audacious arising from within them.
I think the moons were jealous.
Oh, yeah.
They're like fanning their faces, like, ooh.
They're Amanda watching Heated Rivalry.
Yes. Also, flashback to our other episodes where this is like covered, where we talk about, you know, a Seelie having a forbidden marriage witnessed by the Moon Sisters.
Mm-hmm.
And that we're seeing it happen in
Mhm.
real time.
Oh, did you want to do a recap of that one, Feeny?
Recap.
This one's kind of easy. The Voyager, goes down to Irminsul and is like, hey, First Angel Koitar, not Kutar. Tell me your big, bad secret. The darkest ones you have. The darkest in all of Teyvat. And the First Angel is like, oh my God, how did you know all this? Like, and he's like, I'm not really this youth, which I still thought was a 10-year-old boy. So I'm really, you guys have changed a lot for me. I'm a Voyager from beyond the stars. And yeah, I know a lot. And she's like, there's things that are outside of this world that are beautiful and wonderful and great. I don't know any of that. I live in the dirt. Fuck the heavenly principles. We're gonna rebel. I'ma kiss you now. And she kisses him. The bond between her and the heavenly principles breaks, like the little red rope snaps. And the crown gets yeeted to the ground. And the Irminsul tree is not a fan because it starts to get cold. And then the Moon Sisters are like, ooh.
Best part of that recap.
Ooh.
Our last artifact is the Sands, which is Deep Gallery's Moment of Oblivion. The description being a pocket watch fashioned from Northland jade.
Oh, I wonder where that's from.
The Northland. Is it from the bank?
It might be.
Is it Child's?
It's in a safety deposit box.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah. Its hands are forever frozen in the moment of its destruction. That was an era now lost to memory, when the city of the far north glittered like golden threads over the frozen wastelands.
So that's Hyperborea.
And the furnaces of the deep galleries thundered day and night, turning to forbidden methods. Artisans forged countless fey spirits upon the bones of giant beasts. Having spun fallen frost moon light into flawless flesh and blood, they clad it to forms once frail and weak.
This is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, the furnaces of the deep, thunder day and night, turning to forbidden methods. So they forged fey spirits upon the bones of giant beasts. Having spun fallen frost moonlight into flesh and blood, they clad it to forms once frail and weak. This reminds me so much of what happened to the genie via Lillipar and her daughter Shireen.
Mm.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
How they like
Insanity.
would use the spirits of the jinn to inhabit like machines and stuff. But it sounds like here they're actually creating flesh and blood, but they're using the spirits of the fae.
Yeah, or did they make the fey spirits?
Yeah, I felt like they created the Fae, which I kind of was like, oh, Flynn's, what?
Yeah.
Well, it says forged fae spirits upon the bones of giant beasts. So I don't know exactly what that means.
Oh, yeah, so they put the fey onto the... Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
like I don't know if the fae spirits were already around. The wording's a little confusing.
I see, yeah.
My thought in it, and it could be very wrong, was that it almost was like a Linus creating the
Yeah.
Melusines. Was like, we bore the Fae out of these bones.
Oh,
Because, I mean, if the heavenly principles was able to create the angels, like, crazier things have happened.
Yeah, I'm assuming we'll start learning a lot more about the Fae as we go through the story more and do more research on like, because I haven't really even researched Flint's yet, to be honest. So I don't really know anything about the lore behind the Fae yet, but that'll be fun when we get there.
yeah. I also, one of the things that came up in my brain while I was reading this too was, okay, so the fey spirits, that's Flynn's, having spun upon Frostmoon light to flesh and blood, knowing that the Frostmoon Scions have like their silver blood and stuff like that, I was like, are the Frostmoon Scions descendants of Fey? Or could they potentially still be somewhat Fey-like?
Well, we know, I guess it's not that the Frost Moons Scions are all silver-blooded, but they're high priestess are, right?
Yes,
so
thank
like,
you for pointing that out.
they're moon chanters. So like, yeah, is Lauma part Fae? That would make sense to me.
Yeah.
Also, are the genie and Sumeru, are those Fae? They just call them something else, you know?
That's possible. And we have to remember too that not all Jinn are like Lillipar in a bottle.
Yeah, they didn't all get imprisoned in bottles.
So we don't really know what their human forms or their normal forms, quote unquote, look like.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We just know they were born. Well, the legend is that they were, created by the goddess of flowers.
Yeah. But I will say it seems very different because if the Jinn were made by the goddess of flowers, and we assume the goddess of flowers hung out in Sumeru because she was one of the three gods, and then the Fae were kind of made in the Northland, It might not be
Well, we know that the goddess of flowers was an angel.
true. That is true. So maybe they're like cousins. They're not like the same species, but like similar vibes.
Right. And I mean, if she was able to create the Jinn, maybe Koitar created the Fae.
Yeah, that could definitely be possible.
Such authority to create was once the Lord of Firmament's divine prerogative, yet it was handed to mortals by the rebellious envoy.
Okay, so Koitar taught them how to do this, which that kind of adds to that theory that maybe she created the Fae. And then she taught them, she taught the humans how to attach them to beasts.
Like, darn.
Also, is this the matter of creation that she gave to Soidervoinen? Like, is this, you know what I mean? Like, does that mean that this is the matter of creation is just like the method?
The cookbook.
Yeah. And is this how Gold did it? Like, did Gold figure out what Koitar shared with Soidervoinen?
Mm-hmm.
No comment.
Because it sounds like it, right? Like from what we know about when she created Durin and Alinus and stuff, it sounds similar.
Who dreamed that one day these little creatures might create a perfect being that could merge with the world?
What do you think this means?
I was like, what's a little creature? The humans? Are the mortals the little creatures? Or are they just talking about the Fae being attached to the giant beasts? Like, whoa, whoever thought that you could take all these little Fae and make them bigger?
Mm-hmm.
It makes me wonder about Venti.
The wisp.
Yeah, like was Venti a Fae? And did all the Fae start out like that? And then when they got attached to bigger beings, and I don't know, it's interesting because we know Koitar like is traced back to Andreas.
But I'm wondering what they mean by these little creatures might create a perfect being that could merge with the world. What is are they talking about vision wielders? Is that what they're talking about? The Allegenes or whatever?
Like the idea that the Fae are providing elemental powers to people?
Maybe, yeah.
I don't know.
Or do they just mean these monsters that they created by fusing Fae spirits with beasts? You know what I mean? Is that but what does merge with the world even mean?
Yeah. It could simply just mean being in the world,
right.
Existing, or it could be something more merging together.
I wonder if it has something to do with like the abyssal monsters and like them merging with like the outer realm of Teyvat, like the borders.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's just referring to alchemy or chemia in general.
Ugh.
Gold.
I gotta talk about her later.
Within the deep galleries, which still stood intact, the first angel whispered sweet dreams of the coming dawn to her companion. I see a time when earthly nations will yearn no longer for heavenly mercy. The cities they build will rise up into the clouds, higher even than the throne and the stars.
Space elevator.
Woo!
I see humans sharing the vast sky with the gods they once revered. There will be no more tears, sorrow, or death, for all will be complete.
This is really interesting because instead of heaven on earth, she wants to make earth on heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Which is sweet. She's like, why can't we just bring it here?
Mm-hmm.
Yet, in the end, such wild delusions and ambitions were brought down from the heavens, and with them fell deep blue crystal spikes.
Skynails!
Now, is this when all the Skynails came down? Or just this Skynail?
I think it was all of them.
Yeah, I think
we're still going with they all came down at once, right?
Yeah, this is Salvin Dagnur. This is the original colony for Rue. This is the Sumeru one. This is the Chasm.
So this is during the War of Funerary Flame?
Yeah.
The Fae shrieked as they turned into icy silver mist, and in the space of a single night, the splendor of the Golden City was ruined by frost-laden winds.
Is that implying that the Skynail that falls in Hyperborea is the Animo Skynail? Because, I'm assuming the frost one is Dragon Spine. Doesn't it seem like they have their own elements?
Or there's a Skynail up in the Northland that we don't know about.
No, I know, but it seems like it's an Animo one, right? Because it's saying the Golden City was ruined by frost-laden winds.
Oh, okay.
It was like a giant windstorm.
I think that they just cause wind and cold in general. If you look, the Sumeru, the Skynail has the tornado around it.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
You have dragon spine becoming cold, but like the chasm, there's really no element connected to that.
Yeah, there's no weather down there.
There's just toxic goop, which we love.
It's just that I guess they just disrupt the elements around it. Yeah.
They probably just like are disrupting the atmosphere, like the atoms, like
Yeah.
It's probably very philosophical somehow.
Because if they came from the heavens, they had to bring some of the heavens with them, like as they fell. So like think of it like a meteor. When it falls, it still brings some of the, not only the minerals of the meteor, but like the radiation and stuff like that, and gases that are around a meteor is still going to be found. If it's large enough, it's going to be found around it.
This brings us back to one of Brandon's favorite memes. Meteor? I thought you said meteor.
Meteor. Meteor.
The traitorous envoy was stripped of both name and form, and from the moment onward, a curse fell upon her kin. If they dared gaze into another's eyes, and to one alone offer the love that was meant for all, then not only would their divine beauty crumble into the wind, but their minds would fall to dust, until from the fallen one's remains a Seelie would rise, forever drifting in search of fading memories to consume.
They really said fall in love and get fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah. And does this mean that all the Seelies that we follow around Teyvat are angels who couldn't resist love?
Yeah, pretty much.
It's so sad.
Like they were all fine before, and then all of a sudden they're like, wait, we can fall in love with things? Oh no, now I'm a Seelie.
I just kind of want to go sit with the Seelies in their statues and like chat with them and like see. I feel like they need some company now. Like
I want to give them a hug.
And so does that mean that like Nicole has to avoid falling in love?
Yeah. She could become a Seelie.
But also, like, does the heavenly principles have to know that you fell in love? Is this like you have to be seen, or like they sense it?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah, the three moons had spied on the love over from our other two. So maybe they need to be, there's spies out there telling the heavenly principles, like, hey, one of your angels fell in love.
But then I think about Renova's curse of immortality and the Hilly Churls, and that's like automatic, right?
Yeah.
Like if they step outside of the boundaries of whatever. So I don't know, because that's really more location based, not like an emotion or like declaring love or something.
And it makes me curious if Nicole could fall in love right now because the heavenly principles have been MIA for so long. So like if it's something where you have to be caught, the moons are gone, the heavenly principles are sleeping. Nicole, girl, now's your time.
Go get you some ass, Nicole.
Yeah, who we shipping Nicole with? Because she better do it now. Like this is her time.
Can you remind me why she can't talk?
We don't
know.
Oh, we don't know. Okay.
I have an idea though that I'll talk about after we finish. It's a crack theory.
She just says because of reasons she is not able to speak.
Okay.
We like pondered in our last Nod Cry episode, like when we met Nicole, if it was possible that Alice went to teach her how to talk ladylike and then didn't like her talking because she could be immature and just shut her up.
I mean, that sounds very plausible.
Didn't she cast some kind of spell on a guard in Liyue that like made him only be able to say certain things, right?
Oh yeah. He's on a bridge. He mimics you. So if you're like, hey, he's like, hey. You're like, that's not funny. He's like, that's not funny. I feel so bad for him.
I know. And I'm sure Alice doesn't even remember he exists.
Yeah. Those are all of our artifacts.
Well, a brief description. Skirk sees a golden tower in this one, guys. Just throwing that out there.
Oh.
But basically, they're like, oh, things are great. The Angel and the Voyager are like ruling over the city and they're in love. And then the Heavenly Principles are like, whoa, 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 whoa. Love? No. Skynail! And then what Tiff said about love, you become if you're an angel that falls in love, you turn into a Seelie and you forget everything. But also, very important to note that, and I don't know if they mention it in the artifact set, but a reminder that Koitar and the Voyager have their memories wiped and they are separated. So Koitar and this Voyager supposedly aren't supposed to know who each other are.
So could Koitar be the goddess of flowers, like on her way down to Sumeru?
No.
No.
So I did some research in the Koitar, and my understanding is that Koitar was locked away in the Seelie domain after this, which is now a location you can visit in the new subregion of Nodcry. And she would like kind of sing a sad song while there. But then she like trained a wolf, and this wolf ends up being Andreas, our big boss in Mondstadt.
Mhm.
And through their hanging out and everything, Andreas learns how to speak human talk and ends up asking to like go down to protect the people in the south, which is hilarious because we know he hates humans now.
Mhm.
And that's why he lets Venti just become the Archon. And her love for Andreas reminds her of her husband. So they got married, apparently, the
Mm.
Voyager and Koitar. So now it's kind of like this idea that she's like lying, waiting for her husband to be found. So it kind of goes back to the idea of like, have the heavenly principles been asleep for so long that like she was able to get her memories back a little bit? Or is it just like the feeling like she remembers that she was married?
Right.
Also, I thought a fun comparison with Koitar was like, she's kind of like the fallen angel, right?
Hmm.
And since I've been in the Has-Been Hotel so much lately, all I could think of was Lucifer, Morning Star, greatest
Mhm.
dad in hell,
Who loves duckies?
who loves ducks. I don't get it. And in this case, Koitar loves wolves.
Mm-hmm.
So, can I throw out two crack theories that I have?
Please.
Okay. They're very crack. And in my notes, I wrote crack theory, and other. So there are several options here. The first theory I have is that what if Nicole is Koitar and Alice
Mhm.
is the Voyager? The Voyager is described as a scribe that is not from Teyvat. We know that Alice does a lot of writing and creates a lot of travel guides. We also know from Acts 5 and 6 of the Archon line for Nodcry that Alice says that the things I'm saying really should spite me with the heavenly principles, but it's not going to. So she clearly knows a lot. It would be interesting if Nicole and Alice were these angels that fell in love. And the Voyager at one point does say to Koitar, let me be your sword, your shield, your guide, and your unpardonable conspirator in rebellion, which, if that doesn't scream Alice, I don't know what else doesn't. But it would be interesting if that's why Nicole can't talk, because Alice was like, I'm just going to do this for you. Or the Voyager was like, I'm going to do this for you. And also we know from Nicole that she was able to keep her preferred form because she, as an angel, does not currently have a duty to attend to. So her powers aren't drained like the Lord of the Night. And of course, Koitar must have no duty if her memory was wiped and she wasn't allowed back to Irminsul.
It could be. My only thing with that part of it is that it does say that in that last artifact that Koitar was stripped of both name and form.
Could have created a new form though.
Yeah.
Because I think more so the idea is to not be recognizable if you were to run into the Voyager, right?
It could also be that the form is just different, like, because weren't the angels like bigger in some of the images?
Yeah, so especially in Chenyu Vale, we see that.
They had wings and stuff. So, maybe her looking like a regular human is a different form.
And the area that she was supposedly locked in is definitely not big enough for a giant.
Yeah, that's true.
My second crack theory, which I really have less thoughts on, is that Koitar is actually Niberius. And that is why Gold was able to like kind of descend upon them and eat their soul or eat their heart. I really have no facts about that. I'm just very curious why we know nothing about Niberius except for that Gold ate her heart.
No, I mean, that would make a lot of sense too, because, if she lost let's say she lost her form and all that was left was her heart.
Right. My last thought is it possible that Koitar is Rhine daughter? I say this because there is a painting. I don't know where. It's in Hoyo Lab. It's real. It's not a fan art. That depicts a picture of Koitar with a wolf, aka Andreas. But in this painting, Koitar is very much painted in gold and also looks like Daughter with her hood up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's the one that's on the wiki page for Koitar too, right?
Yeah. And also, even though we do know that this wolf is Andreas, supposedly, the colorings and everything remind me much more of the Rift Towns. And this idea as well that Koitar became friend with a Voyager, the Voyager being someone who could put their consciousness into a body. What if Koitar then became a new person and really dedicated themselves to trying to recreate that? So if they were to find the Voyager, they could put them in a new body. It would make sense kind of why someone like Koitar might hide in Conria from the gods and be experimenting and creating the Durins and creating the Alinuses of the world. And which then made me think back to the fact that I was like, well, what if Alice is the Voyager? And I was like, is this just a love story between Daughter and Alice? Because Gold and Alice seem to have a familial connection between the two of them to begin with. Gold leaves her son with Alice, and then Alice trusts her nephew with her daughter. Alice, at one point, is like, I'm also here in Nodcry to clean up after Daughter, but I'm letting Albedo figure that out. It almost sounds like a, fed up wife. Like her bullshit. And they might not even realize it, though, right? Because they probably don't know who each other is nowadays, but they have these inklings of why, especially Daughter, who kind of has this memory of a husband and whatever it might be that they're trying to recreate or be prepared to recreate. So I don't know, there was a lot of thoughts in my head. I don't want Gold to be important ever. More important than she already is going to be, obviously.
Yeah.
It would be interesting if she was just because now she's fused with the Shade of Life.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if she gets her memories back, then she could really throw a wrench into the Heavenly Principle's plan as one of its shades now. You know what I mean? Like this envoy that rebelled and got stripped of their power, and now all of a sudden they're like, oh, guess what? I'm the Shade of Life now, bitch. So that'd be fun.
That would have made her a witch, a shade, and
an angel.
And a sinner.
And a sinner. The one thing that I will refute you on is I don't know if you can really say that picture looks like her, because I think it's so non-distinct.
Really?
Yeah. Outside of the fact that it's literally in gold, it looks Geo to me.
I think it looks like her hood.
Yeah, but I feel like there's other ones that are like that too, though. I don't know. That's just my one thing. I don't see that as much. And it might be because when I first saw it, I may have had a different picture of who I thought it could be. That could be why.
Well, none of the shades look like that, and none of the Archons, except for Zhongli, have a hood like that.
Yeah, and I thought it was Zhongli because I thought it was Geo. When I looked at it, I was like, oh, is this Zhongli? Or I couldn't remember the name of Zhongli's lady friend.
Oh, Guizhong, but she's blue.
But the whole Geo thing and stuff just kind of made me go that route. So it could be that I don't see that because I had another thought in my mind. I mean, that's very, very plausible. That's why I'm not seeing it.
But yeah, those are my crack theories there.
I like it. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. We're going to be having a lot of theories about this, I have a feeling.
I think it's going to be a bit before we get
solid information. Yeah, you never know. I have a feeling we're going to learn more about Koitar in the next release. Maybe, just because we're going to learn more about Andreas, I think. So
right, and that would make sense that Andreas would. It also makes me want to go back and actually reread everything about Andreas and what he says and everything. I want to be like, was there a hint that none of us saw?
Yeah, because we didn't know to look for it at the time.
We'll have to do an episode on him at some point.
His hate of humans, but he went to save the humans, question mark.
Does he hate them because he's the reason why, lost his love because of the humans? Who knows?
But that's about all we have to say today about Koitar and the finale of the Deep Galleries artifact set. So we're going to move on to our mail because Kirara and Albedo worked together, and Albedo went through the mail for Anthrax, and then Kirara brought it all the way from Nodcry to us here in Angel Share. So big shout out to the only 2 employees who work for free here at Tales of Teyvat. Our first message comes from Meg, and they said, if you could try any specialty food in Teyvat, what would it be and why?
Now, I'm picking mine, not because I think it would be really good, but because the reaction to it is just so phenomenal. Ino's Clink Clank Confectionery Cup. It's her specialty, and it walks to you. You know, she's like, look, here it comes. She's very excited. It's a wobbly little dessert that moves its way over to you, and you take a big bite and immediately regret it. The overwhelming sweetness nearly numbs your taste buds. Only then does Nefa's warning surface in your mind. Please be sure to prevent Ino from entering the kitchen at all costs. So not only is it cute, but I gotta see how sweet this is that would numb my tongue. I would love to try that. And it walks to me. Who doesn't love a dessert that's going to walk over?
That's true. I haven't had many things numb my lips except for like too much alcohol.
Or cold air.
Nah, even the cold air doesn't numb these lips. Just Fireball.
Ooh, did you hear that, gentlemen?
So I cheated for this one because I don't want a specialty meal. I'm too picky of an eater. I don't want to be healed over the course of like 30 minutes. I just want to drink a death afternoon.
Oh, death in the afternoon.
It's only death afternoon in Genshin.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yes. I keep calling it death in the afternoon, but death in the afternoon is the real drink, and that is absinthe and champagne. It's death afternoon. It is supposed to be very, very strong, and it's Kaya's drink of choice. And so I'm here for it. Let's get drunk, Kaya. Show me what's under the eye patch.
Okay.
Brandon's like, I have 7.
No. I just have one. This is like, I mean, I'm so thankful I'm a vegetarian because my options are very limited. So I don't have to choose between a lot of. I'm going to say Jean's specialty dish, which is a take on mushroom pizza, because I love pizza and I love mushrooms, and it's called invigorating pizza. And just the idea of eating a pizza and then feeling invigorated instead of like a carb coma afterwards sounds wonderful. Imagine eating pizza and it being like Red Bull.
Oh my God, I would hate it. I would be like, I'm trying to chill.
Sounds wonderful to me.
I've never had an energy drink, so.
Really? Not ever in your life?
No.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine me taking a fucking energy drink?
It would probably have the opposite effect on you and you'd fall asleep.
They do say that happens to people with ADHD.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I can't say that Red Bull does keep me up, but Red Bull actually does make me sleepy, but because it's a sugar crash.
Oh, yeah. Does it give you wings, like the Heavenly Principles?
I mean, before the crash, yeah. I got wings. I'm flying all over the place, especially with that absinthe in there.
Sorry in advance, there's an episode of 911 where it's like right after this crazy earthquake has happened, and like people are sending like snacks and stuff to like the firehouse to thank them, and a few of them eat these brownies that you later find out are drug laced. And people think that Buck is written ADHD coded, that he's not diagnosed, but that he's very obviously possibly there. And if you look at it, it's Eddie, Hen, and Buck that are drugged. And Eddie and Hen are both like, one's crying, one's really giggly. And Buck is just standing there like the most still you've ever seen him. He's so chill, and people are like, yo, Buck got drugged and learned what it was like to be on Adderall. Because they say like cocaine would give the opposite effect to someone with ADHD and stuff like that too. Like it would lock you in like an Adderall would. So maybe Tiff's right. Maybe a Red Bull would just shut me up. Anyway, thank you, Meg, for your question. I'm sorry for my tangent.
Thanks, Meg.
Thanks, Meg.
Our next message comes from Dana, and they said, what are you guys thinking of Nodcry so far? And who is your favorite of the new characters? Now that we're farther into it, you know?
I have a hard time with this one.
I'm definitely Team Anefa. Does Anefa count since we had her before Nodcry?
I feel like Child has to count as a Shniznayan character in the future, so yes.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, point. I'm going to say Anefa. And I love Nodcry. I feel like it's like really good storytelling. I feel like they're just doing such a good job with the storyline.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed Not Cry a lot. And I think I love the way that they're doing the story. I love the depth of the story. And I think partly of it is because we're learning the stuff that we've been dying to learn too. When it comes to the characters, though, I was really trying to figure out which one would be my favorite. And I honestly love them all so much for all different reasons. I love Columbina because she's a loony bitch. She's so crazy. From a playing standpoint, I really enjoy her and Enough together. It's fantastic. I love Llama because she talks to animals, which, in case anybody was wondering, if you have Columbina, the puffins that I was so excited about that love Llama, love her too. So you can go have puffin love. But I think Aino is my favorite because, like, if you put a gun to my head and said you have to pick a favorite, I think it would be Aino because she's just so cute.
Mm.
And she's a smart chick, like girls in STEM. How could you not love it?
Yeah.
I think when it comes to the storyline, one of my favorite parts is the questioning of the Traveler and their ethics. Up until this point, we've seen the Traveler lie a lot more than we've ever seen them lie. We are definitely seeing them hiding things as they continue to not tell many people things about themselves. And it really has, for me, brought into effect the reminder that we have an unreliable narrator as our main character. It's also made me have a greater appreciation for Paimon. While I've always loved Paimon, she is constantly hitting the nail on the head this area. I also love the characterizations of Varka because it's exactly what I expected. And anytime he talks, I'm like, oh, shut up. And I love that I have that feeling when it comes to him. There's something like really, I don't know, like the eye roll. Like he feels so dad.
Yeah, he's fun to hate.
Yeah, he's fun to hate. And I do love him. I'm sure he's well revered amongst the knights that I like. So he must be good at what he does. But also, I really enjoyed the Rerir Thalindis stuff. I was very unexpected for me. I hate Dodore. I hate that he's back. But outside of that, favorite character-wise, I would love to say Durin, but I know he's truly a Mondstadt character. I do love getting to see Durin, and like we said in our last Nodcry episode, Durin, Albedo, and Skara moosh together. Ugh, I love it. But my favorite Nodcry character is still Yehoda. I'm holding true to that. I think she is the realest of them all. I love her internal panic and then being like, oh, okay, this is actually okay. We didn't have to panic. I'm like, if that isn't all of us in social situations, especially in Moon Prayer Night, when Nefer, Columbina, and Arlecchino have a water balloon fight with her, and she's like, what the fuck? And it's one of those things where, like, I feel like it would happen to me, and I'd be like, y'all in Discord tonight, because I got a story to tell. She's a human that's willing to protect at all costs, and we see that with Columbina. I think she's a little selfless, and I don't know, she's just fun. It's nice that she's not, like, necessarily, like, a genius, but she's not dumb. She is smart. She's, like, a nice middle ground character. She's not the strongest, but she's not weak by any stretch, and I like that about her.
I'm a little shocked you didn't choose the new twink, Iluga.
Oh, I just met him. I do adore him. And what did they call him? Oh my God. What did I say, Tiff? I was like,
A nightmare?
Yeah, they called him like a nightmare something when I met him because I hadn't met him in the Archon quest yet. And I was like,
Boreal, maybe?
They called him Nightmare's Burning Heart. What does that even mean? Like, I have so many questions about him.
I think his design is really pretty.
He's gorgeous.
Yeah, he's really pretty.
It's quite literally, they took the male Trails Blazer from Star Rail, Callus, and they Genshin-fied him.
Kind of, yeah.
And I like the description of him too. Like, he's like a good leader. He's very reliable and he learns from his past. And he seems to have had a traumatic past. I haven't done the most research on him. I'm sure once I do, I'll be like, sorry, Yehoda. I also am very excited for this new Mondstadt character coming out with the L. He looks like they took Iluga and like colored him differently.
His name is I think it's Eatlua? Eatlua?
Eatlua.
It's very not intuitive for me to say.
Oh, nothing is intuitive for me to say. Ilua?
Eatlua.
That's the Mondstadt guy?
No. I'm sorry. I'm still talking about the Nod Cry Twink.
Oh, not great.
It's spelled Iluga, but it's pronounced like Eatluga. Like they keep saying his name in the game, and I'm always like, what? That's how are they saying that?
It sounds like auga.
I just haven't met him enough to like have an opinion on him yet. How's
Okay.
that? Yeah. But anyway, travelers, that is all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for coming thousands of years ago with us. We time traveled truly today. Alice would be proud. We love the timey-wimey bullshit. If you liked this episode or you didn't, please feel free to email Albedo at talesoftevatpod@gmail.com, where he will kindly deliver negative messages to us so that I don't cry again. Additionally, travelers can follow us on Instagram, Tales of Teyvat Pod, or on Twitter, Tales of Teyvat. We are also on Blue Sky and Threads and YouTube under the same handles, so check it out. Travelers can also check us out on Ko-fi, where you can buy us a cup of coffee, or you can check out our merch store, where all proceeds go to funding all-night lore study sessions. Unlike Varka, we don't skip class. And it also goes to paying for things like our web hosting softwares and making sure that our AI captain of the space control heavenly principles bullshit is running. No, we don't use AI. Next time, we will be completing the Nod Cry Archon quest as we talk about Acts 7 and 8. And I already know that I'm going to be an unhappy camper because of the participation of a certain doctor. Until then, safe journeys, travelers. We will see you next time.
Bye, nerds of the Northland.
Oh my God, we're all
Where is that again? I forgot.
I think it's
Where would I
in
go?
the land that's north.